Assalamu alaikum. It's Advocate Goodways King today. And last night I was in my room, and today is the 23rd of the June. And I basically was in the observations of the ultimate channels of the over issues of the Pakistan. While in my room, I was educating my neurology. Yes. Because I thought that my neurology is weak, very weak, and I should dictate my neurology in perfection. Because the problem with the raising constructive issues and the optimal issues in the Pakistan, while having no uh, educational issues in the Pakistan. When I just observed the University of the Punjab cases, and I reserve a point of dictation that if the Central University of the Punjab and the university in the Lahore areas, as per my observations, the educational institutions in the central Pakistan haven't had become a product of purchasing and selling, and then what you expect then when the institutions and the individuals are basically suffering from the educational bias throughout their merger of life as per the observation of their intellectual decline transactions in their life, as I just observed that factor. Yes, the problem is a prime social deferred educational degrees in the Pakistan, which I observed by myself throughout my exposure to the life in the central limits of the universities. That the central universities in the central Pakistan, which are not in the positions to make sound optimized individuals as to fit in the capacities as to perform the duties and obligations after completion of their uh, degrees. These males and females are found in the habitual negation of their coast affected materialistic point as well. I just observed these points by myself in my judicial obligations while just confronting with not to observe the same fact. Then I observed that the individuals are so pathetic that they are in the habit of the ghost negation to their bodies and their self in the educational universities of the central Pakistan, and after that they expect the proper children. Yes, they expect it to be done with the points of the amazing, and I'm totally astonished by these facts. I'm surprised by these facts that if any educational bias individual is found in the public sector, what is the destination of the such children in the Pakistan? And after what I observed the most, there are multi communication issues in the Pakistan, the multi output communication issues in the Pakistan, which I observed by my uh, orthodox prime social observations orders. Yes, I observe these factors by myself. Then I confront with them and I challenge those issues by myself every day and every night. And the problem with the children is not an issue now. The problem with the small children is not issue. The issue is the uh, ungroomed children in the Pakistan. Those children are in the habitual recalculation of their negative sanctions and transactions because of the parental neglect. The secondary issue, which I observe in the dowry cases, as my last video was about the dowry cases of the females, that in the Pakistan it is observed that the females are being married after having a huge quantum of the dowries, and such males are not in the positions to understand the dowry issue of the same subjected females, and those males are just selling those dowries, and after selling those dowries it becomes a question that the children under the adverse possession of the mother of the same becomes a constitutional question in the whole rotation of the central Pakistan. This is an operative curse in the family's marital disorder discoveries by myself as I observe those factors by myself. Yes. So it doesn't mean that if a female is in the adverse possession of anyone, that question is the guardian ad litem during their upper age limits. I observe these factors. They always manipulate. I am talking about those individuals who are not in the fit positions to observe their self. Yes, I observe these factors by myself then, if they are in the positions to aftermath of the ultimate aggression of the depressed marriages, and after observing those sneezing. So this is also an issue that I have air issue. So this is the problem with the secondary sense of the publicans. The over grouped of the overpopulation's females in the residency of the Pakistan appears to be the next point in the Pakistan. I observe these issues. So after procuring an amount of the females and males, what crime always appears in the small medium enterprises is also an objectionable question as per my rotation of the constitutional laws. The question of the females not married to the right person is not a question. The question of the males not married to the females of the right choice is not a question. The question of getting at the right wrong time marital discoveries in the Pakistan is an objectionable thought. I object such thought if any individual who is getting married after not having the solvency factors thereafter, which sectors and which factor will uplet the children which will be produced after the marital ceremonies of the same. This is my judicial question which I just raised for the welfare of the Republic of the Pakistan, because I'm a Pakistani, I'm proud of that. And the Pakistanis should have to acknowledge the responsibilities of their under liabilities of the families under the depiction of the facts of the true observation of the same. In fact, I observed that when the so many issues and the ultimate channels and the overpopulated issues and the minus still observations of the same and the known observations of the each other, and not to take care of the under the attention of the love and affection in the Pakistan is a prime social crime, and they always upheld those crimes in the still circulation of the same. In fact, when I just observe the lecturers in the universities, I observe that they are not well versed with the education. They're not well qualified to consummate such a scientific approved knowledge to the children. In fact, I observe these factors by myself, and after that, what I observe the most is a question of the judicial landmark central obligations that the optimizing factors within the female's neurology in the Pakistan. At the first place, I was of the thought that the females were not corrupt in the Pakistan, but I'm totally astonished with that thought as well. The demoralized sanctions and the demoralized conceptualization of the females in the Pakistan appears to be the next point. The question of the afterbirth of the females after having the pills by the males is another offensive attitude in the Pakistan. And after discharging their dick at the night time is the favorite game of the Pakistan. So these are the series of the criminology in the adverse possession of the Pakistanis and the Middle East individuals and even the whole of the globe. They're profound in this offense, and after that, they said that they are not having the bread and butter. We shall have to understand that point that if I'm not willing to understand myself, my human nature, thereafter, which are the fellowships who are providing me the sufficient resources for the life, if I'm not being followed by anyone, if I'm not willing to understand my surrounding, then who is going to surround with the positive lines in the benefit of the output capitals? And thereby, when I just confront with the mathematical equation of the scientific approved transactions through the humans, and after uh, just executing those scientific approved transactions, those individuals are profound as to negating their disapproved organs. This is not an issue. If anyone is suffering from the disapproved transaction, he can or she can repel to the same compulsive behavior of the under negligence driven individual in the Republican of the central limits of the Pakistan. Thereby, when I just confront myself with the dilemma of the Republicans that what they are into the habit of considering the positive activities or the negative activities, the combination of the negative activities into the positive activities, and after converting those negative ultimate depiction of the negativity into the minds of the same, they come with a conclusion that they were not in the habit of the optimal negativity in the Pakistan. The issues which I observe, the constructive deferred transactions by the same, in fact, of the subjected obligations in the reliance of the mathematical equation in the Pakistan is another question mark, which becomes a dilemma of another scientific approved knowledge in the science. And the fanatic marriages is another issue in the Pakistan. The fanatic and the fatal marriages. The fanatic and the fatal marriages under the Road Fatal Accident Act 1861 or 1864. Thereby, when we just cross study these laws and their obligations, the reproductive rate of the humans have become redundant or declined, and the problem with the individuals are the self-optimistic with the sense of the decreased amounts of the sperms, and thereafter the sperms are equivalent dividend into the females and males. When you just apply that the females have the sperms, the females are also having the adverse possession of the sperms in her ovary or in these females' ovaries. This should be understood by the Republicans, and the males have their sperms in their testicles. And the problem when you just apply the testicles with the ovaries, those deferred ovaries with the deferred sperms will defer the childbirth rate as per my calculation. And after that, the childbirth rate will be applied with the cost-gated human transaction in their life. Amazed by these factors, that when you just appeal to yourself that you will be not surprised by anyone, you will surprised by everyone. Thereafter, the things which always hold in the wrong direction, the constructive negation of the humanity, and the humanity under the depiction of the ultimate aggression of the depressed transactions of the scientific declined individual within their life appears to be the continuous constitutional mandate in the Pakistan. The deferred disadvantaged females of the Republicans, the deferred 80%, and they are not trying to convince their bodies, their self. They are in the dilemma that those females are very well educated. If these females were well educated, well versed with the laws, then why the result of the same is out casted in the gutters? I'm totally shocked when I just observe in the ED centers, in the shelter homes, in the other places of the NGOs that the children are just living below the belt line in order to just have a breathe or breath. The question which should be understood by the political parties and the subordinate parties that they are not humanistic right now. So when we just apply that the Central and National Committee on the Humanitarian Observations, by Section 32 and 33 of the Humanitarian Act